A little while back, Linus and I built a mini beast of a machine in this SilverStone SG13 with an 18-core Intel processor, a Titan X, dual SSDs, and other things. The case was able to fit everything, which by default made it awesome considering how big it is, so we decided to review it. And also, don't forget to stay subscribed to Linus Tech Tips because Scrapyard Wars is finally coming back.
Kingston KC310 series business grade SSDs feature firmware-based power loss protection, massive capacities, and performance to spare. In fact, we're using them for our new production server. Click right here to learn more about them.
Starting on the outside of this 220mm wide, 181mm tall, 285mm deep, 11.5 liter, 2.4 kilogram case, we have a classy aesthetic that will dynamically fit into any home theater setup or any computer desk with ease, regardless of whether or not you go with the higher airflow dimpled mesh version that we have, or also the Phaco brushed aluminum option. Just below the mesh on our unit is a SilverStone logo in the bottom left-hand corner with dual USB 3.0 jacks and dual 3.5mm audio jacks on the far right-hand side. On the left side of the case, we see a very large mesh which should allow for any compatible size graphics cards, that's anything with a length of 10.5 inches or below, to breathe quite easily. Also, we see a little bit of breathable mesh for the front intake of the case just along the side of the front bezel. On top of the case is a mostly plain, although there is a fairly sizable mesh on the back where your PSU or other various incidental case airflow could go through. We decided to mount our PSU with the fan on the bottom to help pull air directly from the system, so it won't help there, but anyways. Over on the right-hand side, we have the smaller mesh panel with incidental airflow, and yet again we see a bit more breathable mesh for the intake of the case just along the front bezel. The back of the case is pretty simple, revealing the cutout for an internally mounted power supply, an I/O shield, and a little tiny bit of airflow meshing just above the externally secured add-in card slots. Then we get to the bottom, which features 4 nice little rubber feet which do a pretty good job of keeping the case from sliding around too much, even with a fair amount of force applied, and it lifts it up off the surface by a little bit. And while this doesn't really help with cooling by much as there's no mesh on the bottom, it does make picking it up that much easier, which leaves us with 4 pre-cut holes for mounting an SSD on the bottom of the inside of the case. Once you remove the outer kind of U-shaped frame, you see that the inside of the case has, well, not much, to be frank. There's a nice steel plate that holds 2 SSDs or 1 hard drive up and out of the way near the top of the case, which also features 2 little indented bits where you can easily plug in the SSDs, or 1 cutout where you can plug in the hard drive. And then we have a little bracket which helps hold up the power supply so it doesn't bend the frame of the case or droop onto any of the other components. And then, which brings us to the 120mm or 140mm fan or radiator mount in the front of the case. One word of warning with this is be careful with the length of your tubing, as this can cause some issues. If you check this video out from Linus and I building the system, we had a hell of a time getting everything to fit. Due to the magic of editing, you didn't necessarily see all of that, but it did take us quite a long time to get everything to work without any kinked tubing. Just trust me. It was a bit of a hassle, but worth it considering it worked, and in the end we were able to fit everything in this tiny, tiny little case. And that's about it. Other than, you know, like motherboard standoffs. Do I sound disappointed? I'm not. I know I might, but I'm actually not. That's all there is, but that's fine. This case actually makes that a good thing. With many cases, you can have someone pick it up and you'll know fairly accurately what they're gonna put inside of it. With this thing, not really. Other than an ITX motherboard and a graphics card, it's pretty much up in the air. Do they go with the super crazy high-end sleeper-like system that Linus and I did with a Titan X and 32 gigs of RAM and an 18-core processor? Or do they go with a low-power CPU and something like a 750 Ti because it doesn't take a dedicated power slot, so it doesn't take up that much power at all, just sipping power for a home theater box? It's a cheap case, but it looks classy as hell and will suit whatever you decide to put into it. So, in conclusion, like I just said, it's cheap, but it feels fairly well built. It's small, but it fits a lot in it for its size. It lacks an extensive feature set, yet somehow accommodates creativity. There's a fantastic and unique feeling of really thinking that the component you were trying to put into it isn't gonna fit, even when you line it up, but then having it fit or finding a way to fairly painlessly make it fit every damn time anyways. This isn't a 100% unique case. There's cases that are very similar to this, but especially at this price point, I think it does make quite a bit of sense. Alright guys, I look a little bit different because I'm actually in the middle of building my system for Scrapyard Wars, which is coming soon, but I had to pause for a great message from our friends over at MASSDROP. They have something a bit different for you guys today, this thing. They currently have a drop available for the Chic Smart S1 scooter, which is a self-balancing, two-wheeled electric scooter, and it's rated at 12 miles of range on a single charge and is capable of traveling at up to 6 miles or 10 kilometers per hour. While you won't be breaking any land speed records necessarily or off-roading through the hills on this pretty cool thing, it's a smooth travel on a smooth surface. And it's a pretty good conversation starter due to its reserved but interesting appearance. Of course, this is available through MASSDROP, which means it's a significantly discounted price thanks to their group buy model. Essentially, the more people that buy it, the more the price goes down to a set minimum, with its minimum price being just under 30% below MSRP. You can check out this drop and many others at the link in the description, dro.ps/LinusTechTips, so head over there now if you're interested. That link doesn't actually give us a kickback or anything, but it does let them know that we sent you. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below or over on the forum. Before you go to the forum, like, dislike, favorite, subscribe, share, follow, all that kind of happy fun stuff. Check out the links in the video description below this video to see things like Linus Media Group shirts or even a lanyard, I believe, and some other cool stuff. Over on the forum, you can see the Help Linus Media Group button thing where you can go see how to change your Amazon affiliate codes or install one of the forum add-ons, which can kind of do it for you and do a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, become a contributor on the forum, and I'll see you next time.